Hello, everybody jumping on. I'm going to wait a little bit while people connect to audio, click through all the Zoom buttons that pop up. So I'll give it a moment, but we have lots of people joining on the call, which I'm so excited about. Miss Molly, Miss Ann, Miss Ellis, I see on here. Who else do we have jumping on? Meg. Hi, Amy. Sue, I'm glad you got on, figured out the Zoom. Proud of you. Debbie, Jackie, thank you for jumping on. So many fun, familiar faces. Teresa and Jenna. Who else? Callie, Shelly, Angelica, Jennifer, Jen, all the Jens, guys. Thank you guys all for jumping on. I know it's Thursday, depending on where you are. It's kind of the middle of the day-ish. But with COVID, you know, all schedules are wonky. Chloe, thank you for jumping on. Jana, Bella, Larry. Love seeing all my familiar faces. I know some of you guys have found me through Instagram or you're in the inner circle. So however you have seen me or found me, maybe all the above, welcome. Welcome Ruth, Holly, Carly, Sarah, Brooke, Becky. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we will get started, dive into things. If you know me, I cut to the chase, but I'm going to introduce myself first for those who don't know me yet. So I'm Erin. I am a registered dietitian. I'm also a celiac. I was diagnosed with celiac when I was 16, so the fun age of high school, which was definitely a journey. After high school, I went to college, got my degree in nutrition, lived gluten-free in a sorority house with about 1 million roommates, traveled a ton across California and the country. And then I went to grad school in New Hampshire, the cold other side of the world compared to California, where I'm from. And then traveled a bunch more. And now I landed in Austin, Texas. And I'm moving again in 2 weeks. So done a lot since my diagnosis. And I just want to encourage everybody that celiac doesn't hold you back. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. But if you take away one thing from me ever, it's celiac doesn't win, celiac doesn't hold you back. There's a ton of life to live with celiac. And so really that's my mission with the celiac space, is to educate people on how to properly have a gluten-free diet, how to manage their health and their lifestyle in a way that isn't limiting and restrictive. And I know, I'm sure all of you guys are like, yes, that's me, where you go to the doctor, they diagnose you, maybe they send you to a dietitian. That probably isn't very helpful, unfortunately. Maybe they hand you a paper that says like these foods contain gluten, bread, pasta, also not super helpful, which I know is very frustrating. So that's kind of why I'm here, is to help educate, support this community, because as a dietitian, as somebody with celiac, I understand that gap in care. And it is not okay. And I'm sorry you guys have fell through the cracks or are struggling in any way with your health or with the gluten-free diet, because it doesn't have to be that way. Truly, the celiac diagnosis is a blessing. It's something that we are able to treat with a gluten-free diet, which is awesome. We don't have to take pills. We don't have to take supplements. There's no crazy treatment for it besides being gluten-free, which is a crazy treatment if you don't know how to do it well. And so that's what I'm here for, is to help you guys understand the gluten-free diet and truly how to do it well. So that's what we are going to cover today, is 5 mistakes, right? Let's come up with the ones that I see people running into as a roadblock. And then on top of that, also making sure that you guys have all the resources for any other concern that comes up for you guys with gluten-free, with your health, all of things. That's what I'm here for. That's what the celiac space is created for, to connect patients, clients to dietitians, to work with myself. I worked with hundreds of celiacs, hundreds of people with just a gluten-free diet, on celiac education, gluten-free education, and then also just how to live a healthy lifestyle when gluten isn't even a factor anymore. When you're like, I got this. Now help me do other cool things. That's what I'm here for. So that's me. We are going to dive into the webinar now. So we're covering 5 mistakes of the gluten-free diet. We are not going to be covering things like basic things that maybe your doctor told you, or maybe you already read online. You guys already know that stuff. Let's try something else that you guys might be running into that I still see common mistakes on. So let's do it. All right. Share my screen. I think I'm sharing it. Okay. So 5 mistakes of gluten-free diet and how to avoid them. All of this information applies to you if you have celiac disease, if you follow a gluten-free diet for any other health condition or reason, or if you are a caretaker or supporter of somebody that is gluten-free. This is for you, and that's why you're on this call. So welcome. Oh, man. I'm going to do that a bunch. I always click that side button. Got to click the mouse. Okay. Mistake number 1 is not considering other food sensitivities. First of all, what is a food sensitivity or intolerance? Covering one side of things is a food allergy. A food allergy is something that you can think of as like a peanut allergy, right? So it's IgE mediated, whereas celiac is IgA mediated. If you've seen your celiac blood work, it's TTG IgA, that thing. Food allergy is IgE mediated. Common symptoms are things like hives, breathing problems, death. A lot of the reactions that happen quickly, that's a food allergy. Okay. Common things that people have food allergies to are milk, eggs, nuts, tree nuts, shellfish, wheat. Those are some of the top 8. Those are 6 of the top 8. On the flip side, a food sensitivity, this we don't necessarily know all of the mechanisms that cause food sensitivities. It's also called a food intolerance, similar. This is not deadly. Nobody dies from food sensitivities, but it does put stress on the body. And so long-term chronic stress is obviously a health concern for us. Both of these are dose dependent, and they also both have a potential to grow out of. Notice these are not celiac disease, these are intolerances. And that's a common mistake that people have with their gluten-free diet is they're not considering other food sensitivities and intolerances that they may have, and they're blaming all of their gut issues, all of their migraines or fatigue, any symptoms they have on gluten when there could be other underlying symptoms. Common food sensitivities that we see. Dairy, artificial sweeteners. So that is something like Splenda, aspartame, sweet and low, like the old school, like colored packet, like pink, blue, and white. Those are all artificial sweeteners. Stevia and monk fruit are not artificial sweeteners. So keep that in mind. Other ones would be soy, oats, legumes, thinking beans, peanuts, eggs, grains, corn. And then the bottom 2 are big food categories. So there's a lot of foods that fall in these 2, but a FODMAP. So those are things that are high fructose, high certain kind of fibers that react poorly to the gut. It's common in people with IBS. And then histamines, which are found in foods like leftovers, processed meat, that kind of thing. So these are all common food sensitivities. Typically with food sensitivities, we see gut issues is the most common. We can also get some headaches, sometimes rashes. And food sensitivities usually occur a few hours after eating and can be a little bit more long-term than the food allergies that we talked about, which is like you eat something and then your lips swell. That's an allergy. These are sensitivities, which are common in individuals with celiac. Not all of these, but some of them. So how do you know if you have a food sensitivity? Elimination diet. I know that they have Everly Well out there. They have great commercials. They do great marketing. They're based in Austin, Texas. Gotta love a local company, but it is not the gold standard. It's truly not the best way to figure out if you have food sensitivity. I can get into the reasons why those blood work stuff isn't ideal. Seeing an allergist isn't going to look at a food sensitivity. You truly have to do an elimination diet, which is where you remove the food from your diet 100%, and then you add it back in a regulated fashion. So the best way to do this is work with a dietitian. I do this all the time in my practice with my clients. They are really the profession that is trained to do these things with you and help you uncover your food sensitivities. You guys have heard me mention the course that's coming out. So excited for y'all. We'll get more into that, but the course will actually cover how you can do your own food sensitivity elimination diet situation. And so it'll help walk you through the elimination diet and how you would kind of begin to do that for yourself. So that is one thing. So I want to cover, again, like how you know if you have food sensitivity and this reflection for you to think for yourself. So number one is, have you noticed any foods trigger unwanted symptoms? And it may be that you're unable to pinpoint it, but if you're like, every time I eat lunch, I have issues, or, I think I might have an issue with dairy. If you have an inkling towards that, that's something to explore, whether using the course to help you navigate that or working with a dietitian. That's something that would be really important. There are specific protocols required for the elimination diet. It'll take me longer than an hour to explain, which is why we do it one-on-one, but that is something to explore for you guys. So we're going to do a poll because I just like to involve you guys and see. Okay. So I want to hear, are there foods that you avoid or that you don't do well with? This should be popping up on your screen, but you guys can vote. You can vote more than one, and I'll give you guys the poll data. So I'll give you guys a little bit to kind of pop in that. But it's nice to kind of see what other people feel like they have a sensitivity to, and see if that aligns with my practice and what I have seen. So coming up, dairy is number one. I agree with that. In my practice, so many of my clients have a dairy sensitivity. Number two, based on your poll results, is lactose. Here's the kicker. If you have a gluten sensitivity, I know most people think that they have a lactose problem. In most cases, it's truly a dairy problem. Now, dairy, there's three components that are problematic. There's lactose, casein, and whey. If you were just doing a lactose-free diet, right, so you're buying lactate or lactose-free milk, you're only eliminating one of those factors. So you might still have problems. The way to truly see if you have a dairy sensitivity is to completely remove dairy from the diet, not just lactose, and then add it back in and see how you do. Excuse me. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, that's in the course. That's what I work with my clients with, but you would be very surprised how often it's dairy, not lactose. Other people all responded to yes to corn, soy, and eggs. Eggs was up there for some people, which is also common for sensitivity. Thanks, y'all, for playing. You want a prize. You want a prize. I don't, because I can't click the right button. Okay. Mistake number two. Not considering your nutrition status. Now, this is something where people tend to be aware of, like, oh, if I have celiac disease, then I might have a sensitivity to, if I have celiac disease, I might not be getting enough of my nutrients, or there might be damage to my intestine, which puts me at risk for blah, blah, blah. But they're not always doing much to adjust for that. So that's really something that's so important, that is what could chronically lead to more complications of celiac diet or gluten-free, or celiac disease or gluten-free diet if you're not addressing the nutrition concerns. It's not celiac, it's not the gluten-free diet that's going to be harmful for you long-term. It's not following proper nutrition protocol. So what nutrients are you at risk for being deficient for? Iron, zinc, calcium, B vitamins, vitamin D, and folate. Those are the top 6 that are absorbed in the small intestine at large amounts, that if you are following a gluten-free diet, these aren't common in a gluten-free diet because they're not fortified in gluten-free foods. On top of that, if you have celiac disease and your GI and small intestines damaged, your ability to absorb these is even less. Okay. So you're like double fold for issues. So we really have to make sure we're getting enough nutrients. Okay. And these are the big ones. So what can you do to address this risk? Biggest thing is a balanced diet. Okay. So not just sticking to 5 foods because you're like, these are safe, not just buying certified gluten-free foods, to truly having a lot of balance in your diet and sticking with whole foods. On top of that, making sure you're getting a variety of stuff, especially vegetables. So I have my photo here. Half the plate is veggies. Yes. Half the plate is vegetables. So important because that has a ton of nutrients in it. And then on top of that, making sure you're getting good gluten-free whole grains, getting enough protein in your diet, nuts, legumes, all of those things, as long as you can tolerate them well, are going to be really important to help you get enough nutrients. And making sure you're eating enough of them on top of that is also important. What else can you do is having good balanced meals. And then also thinking how you could adjust your meals to provide more variety. So how can you include more vegetables? How can you include more whole grains? On top of that, getting blood work to see where you're deficient. So let's say you get blood work done from your doctor. They can pull that. It's just a typical blood panel. If you tell them I want to test my vitamin mineral status, they can look at that for you and say, hey, Becky, you're low on iron. Then you can say, all right, I need to eat more meat sources. I need to take an iron supplement with orange juice to help the iron absorb, whatever. You work with a dietitian to help you figure that out. But making sure you have balanced meals and then also getting blood work done is also important. So yeah, that's here. Supplements, if needed, is a huge one. Poll number 2, y'all. When is the last time you got blood work done? Less than 3 months, about 6 months, about a year, or more than 2 years? For me, I typically don't go out of my way to get blood work done, I'll be honest. Like as far as celiac panels and nutrients. But if they're pricking me for something, okay, so if they're testing my thyroid, I have hypothyroid, they're testing that, I'm like, hey, can you throw on a celiac panel and can you throw on nutrient status? Okay, so then they can easily test those. If it's been a while since you've been to the doctor, so a few people are saying more than 2 years, about a year, at that point, I would call your doctor, go in there, get a little prickaroo, and see what your nutrient status is so that you can correct if needed. Hopefully everything's looking great, but especially in the beginning of diagnosis, it's important that you do about every 3 months. Especially if your GI was really damaged, if you know you don't have a balanced diet, that sort of thing. Because we don't want to be supplementing if we don't have to. So if you are like, oh, Erin said this list of 6 things, I'm going to Amazon and have tomorrow all of these supplements for me, not a great idea. We don't want to over supplement. So we want the blood work to really see where you're at. Which is why I say food first and really looking at a balanced diet. You're not going to overdo it with food. So that's a good start. All right. Mistake number 3. This is the big one that makes me like this girl. Ugh. But also just really sad. I feel really sad for individuals that overstress. I think that can be so much more harmful to their health than honestly gluten can be, which sounds dramatic, but it's truly not. This can actually be a lot more harmful. And there's actually research to show that. So one thing that people overstress about is cross contact. And what they are not doing is they're not assessing risk. They're truly just thinking that, or they're misunderstanding that having some cross contact is the same thing as straight up eating gluten, right? So they might think that if there's gluten in my kitchen and my husband cooked a loaf of bread and then I accidentally, used the same plate after it maybe wasn't washed enough, they would stress, and I've seen it happen where they stress that exposure is the same amount of exposure that occurs with eating that piece of bread. Not the case. So when you are over vigilant, over stressing, over washing everything, avoiding social situations, and truly really limiting yourself and self-isolating, not like the COVID style, but like truly self-isolating when world's open, not beneficial for your health. And so really understanding where the risks lie and how you can mitigate risks how you can safely be around gluten and not be hyper stressed or, that kind of thing is really important. So again, like I said, awareness is a huge part of this and understanding risks. So first, being aware of gluten food ingredients and where gluten is found. Browse is an easy way to remember it. Barley, rye, oats, if not certified gluten-free, wheat, and spelt. Those are the big sources of gluten. But if you've been around for a while, you know my no and woe foods. Those are also things that you want to be aware of. No and woe ingredients are the primary way that you would read a food label and assess if a food is gluten-free. People get too stressed with a food label looking at the manufactured statement, only thinking that they can buy certified gluten-free. All of those things truly limit you too much. They put you at risk for high stress, right? So chronic stress will kill you for sure. Mental, being mentally in not a great place, self-isolation, also just limiting your food intake. If you're only buying certain products, if you're only sticking to certain food groups, those are all things that overstressing can lead to. And a lot of it is just from misunderstanding information and not having the right, information truly about what you can have, what you can't have, that sort of thing. So my thing is taking precaution. So in your own house, you are able to control, the no ingredients, the woe ingredients with the products that you buy. People get stressed so that's one factor. Second factor is people get stressed outside the home when it's eating with friends and family and that kind of stuff, which I get it. I'm traveling this weekend with friends and family. Not that it's not stressful, but overstressing would make me not enjoy the weekend and would definitely just cause more problems than it's beneficial. So what do we do in those events that are outside our home? We take precautions to a reasonable degree, I'll say. So one way is speak to someone ahead of time about your needs. So whoever you're traveling with, or if you're going to be at a restaurant, can you, call ahead? Can you gather more information about what's going to be available, what's not going to be available, that kind of thing. Number 2 is plan for a mistake to happen and bring food just in case. Obviously, we don't want a mistake to happen. We want everything to go hunky-dory. But if you've traveled before, that's not how things happen. So mistakes are going to happen, and not getting in this headspace of stress of what if. Instead, just have a backup plan. So then you don't have to live in that what if. And that backup plan for me always looks like a giant snack bag. I'm going away for 2 nights and I'm bringing like a full gallon-sized Ziploc bag of snacks just for myself. Because I know worst case scenario for 2 days, I can survive on that snack bag. So I don't have to be overstressed and plan too much about everything else. I can enjoy my time. I can be with the people around me, which comes to point 3 is don't let the food rule the event. Focus on the people, focus on the purpose of the event. You're truly there for the memories and the moments, not just for the food. So trying not to let that stuff stress you out. Beep. All right, a little reflection. So what I want you guys to think about is what is one situation that tends to stress you out? Is it traveling? Is it dining out? Is it going to eat at your in-laws' house? What is that event? And what are 3 ways you can take precautions ahead of time to plan ahead for the stress? So as that precaution means you talk to your in-laws ahead of time and advocate for yourself, or you bring something for all of you guys to share. Does it mean that you order, not DoorDash? I guess you could do that too with like Chipotle or something, but like food delivery, like grocery delivery. Is it that to your hotel room, you get sent a grocery order so that when I get there, I don't have to worry about groceries. I'm going to do the thing in my phone and have it sent to me. What can you do to reduce the precautions and begin to start engraving that as a habit for yourself to make it easier for travel in the future? So that's something that I want you guys to think about after this. Another poll, what helps you most with stress management? So for my clients, we do a lot of like journaling, meditation, exercise, going on a walk. For me and my guy Wally, it's going on a walk. And I said that too loud and he already looked at me. But these are all things that can help with stress. And while you might think, oh, like, you know, I don't stress about gluten, if there's other stress going on in your life, increases your inflammation, increases the risk for you to have other gut issues. If you think about it, the gut and the mind are so connected. If you have other gut issues and you are high stressed, those gut issues are going to be exacerbated. And then it's very hard to tell the difference between a gut issue from IBS stress related and celiac. So if you're traveling and you're like, every time I travel, I get sick. Also think, every time you travel, are you a high stress ball because of the gluten? If that's the case, it is truly hard to distinguish between, is your like sickness and symptoms caused when traveling from stress or from gluten? Which one is it? It's hard to tell. But getting to the answer, you guys clicked going on a walk at 56%. That's a little bit surprising. Exercise at 33%. Journaling at 5%. Not many people journal. I don't journal, but I know it's a good thing. Like when I do journal, I'm into it. All right, guys. So that's my like PSA, stress is so important. Please consider that. Number 4. Lack of patience. Sorry, I skipped through, but it's lack of patience. And how I see this happening is individuals will post on my Facebook group saying, I had elevated celiac numbers of above 250, get my blood work back 6 months later, and it's at 150. And they're expecting it to be at 0. First of all, you probably won't get to 0. 0 is not a normal number for a celiac. Okay. That's one thing to consider. The other thing to keep in mind is that as long as numbers are moving in the right direction from a blood work standpoint, and as long as symptoms are starting to improve and feel better, that's what we want to see. Okay. It's not that you go gluten-free and things become hunky-dory the following day, the following week, the following month. Mistakes are going to be made. That's normal. The learning curve is huge. As you know, when you went gluten-free, there's a ton to learn. So there's a lot to it. And so really, instead of really be in the now and focus on what can I be doing now to help my health, instead of being so future focused of I can do this when my stomach heals. When my gut heals, I can do that. Those are words that I hear people saying too often, and it really takes away from the healing process. So like I said, the future is focusing on, things in the future as far as like when your gut heals or when you're going to feel better or when your blood numbers are going to look good. Instead, we got to focus on the now. We got to focus on what we can be doing now to help you feel best, which ties in the first 3, which is not stressing, looking at nutrient deficiencies, considering food sensitivities. All of those things are things that we can be doing now to help you feel better in the future without having to just focus on the future. So if you're saying things like, when will this get easier? When will I feel better? When will my symptoms go away? While that's helpful in the short term and you can think through those questions, we can't live there. So I want you to reframe those into, what are you doing better to feel now? What are you doing to make things easier for you? Are you still practicing getting out to eat with friends and family? Are you still trying new food products? Are you getting your blood work tested? Okay. Also, how are you feeling now? Are you feeling 2% better than yesterday? If so, you win. You win for the day. Okay. Let's continue to feel 1%, 2% better every day instead of saying, I still don't feel good. Do you feel better? Then we're moving in the right direction. Okay. And the last thing is, what can you do now to honor your body and your gut? So if that is doing light exercise, if that is eating foods that feel good for you, whatever that may be, making sure that you're doing those things. All right. So that is mistake number 4, is lack of patience. All right. Now, with all those things in mind, I want to mention the course that is coming up. Hey, I'm wearing the same shirt there as I am here. How fun. All right. So this is the course that is truly the ultimate education for a gluten-free diet. all the 5 things that I covered, I obviously couldn't go a ton of depth about them. Okay. So I ain't going to keep you on the Zoom call forever. But the course is something that is self-paced. We will have a Facebook group attached to it. That is its own Facebook group for people in the course to ask questions, to get more hands-on-hand resources with me. But the course is, if you're celiac or gluten-free or supporter, this is everything you need to know. Okay. Could have written a book, which many people told me I should do, but I didn't, because people want to listen, like people want to see videos and be able to click on things and do quizzes and download stuff. That's what this is. So there's 7 chapters covering gluten-free, understanding celiac, getting your health back. That covers physical health. So like I talked about, with food sensitivities, with supplements, nutrients, that kind of thing. Also mental health, huge. Yeah. Number 4, the 4th chapter is setting up your kitchen. So whether you have a strict gluten-free kitchen or a shared gluten-free kitchen, whatever that looks like, it's going to cover everything for you. Checklist, product recommendations, all that's there. Away from home is anything that you do outside of your 4 little walls. So travel, dining out, eating at friend's house, eating at family's house. A lot of that section is printables that you can send to friends and family. So if you're going to your sister's house and she's like, but you've been gluten-free for 35 years, or not, you eat gluten for 35 years. I don't know how to cook for you now. There's a handout in there that you can send to her, giving her recommendations for that kind of thing. As far as how to avoid cross contact, what foods you can buy, etc. Then we have an FAQ and myths, which is kind of my favorite part because it asks all the crazy questions I get. Is meat gluten-free? Do I have to throw away all my pots and pans? Can I get the flu shot? How do I find a celiac doctor? All that is there. And then I wrap it up with Nutrition 101 because it is still so important that you understand the fundamentals and basics of nutrition to help your long-term health as well. So covers it all. It's video recordings, PDFs, quizzes, shareables, all the things. Mistake number 5 people make: support. I think people really underestimate the need for support, both from the people inside their homes and also somebody in the medical community on their medical team. Oftentimes when you're diagnosed, your doctor's like, hey, you have celiac, or hey, you have IBS, you need to go gluten-free. They don't offer you support, so you might think that you don't need as much support, which as you start to get into the gluten-free diet more, you understand you need. If you're here, you understand you need it. So getting support, short-term and long-term, is huge. And beyond that, making sure you get the appropriate support, not a Facebook group with people that don't understand what they're talking about. Ugh, don't get me started. But truly having support from a medical standpoint, a scientific standpoint, somebody that lives celiac, that understands it and has the correct information from legit resources is important. All the kinds of support we need. So on top of that, we have support for yourself. So making sure that you are able to support yourself, that you have the resources, you have the education, you have the knowledge for that. And that might be preparation for food events, whether that's preparing your own food, having the strategy to ask the right questions, knowing how to avoid cross contact at events, preparation for eating out. So that's dining out. How do you ask questions at a restaurant? What foods do you avoid? What are the hot spots? Reading food labels. I will say it again and again. That's the number 1 skill, that if you're gluten-free, you got to know like the back of your hand. Got to know the no's, got to know the woes, got to be able to look at a food in a grocery store and be like, I can eat that, or I can't eat that. So that's huge and a big way to support yourself. And then the last one is cooking safe meals for yourself at home. Obviously with COVID, we're all eating at home for the most part, but also just being able to use the food labels to make food at home, whether then you bring it with you to friends and family's house or you eat it regularly, whatever that may be. Setting boundaries is another big one for yourself and for others to keep you safe, to keep you feeling supported. Educating others, which starts with educating yourself. You're able to be a good teacher once you really understand it yourself. So making sure that you have that. And then advocating for yourself as well is huge. Ways to get support from others is helping them support you at food events, helping educate others, like we said, having them understand why it's important for you to decide where to eat, what to eat, that type of thing. Enjoying non-food related activities. So helping them understand that food is stressful for you. And depending where you're at in your journey, it's more stressful than other times. And then of course, listening to you. So these are things that other people can do to truly support you. And that's underestimated and a big mistake that I see from a lot of people. So that is my 5 mistakes of a gluten-free diet. We are going to pull one more poll for you guys. So which of these is most important to you as a celiac? Is it when others support you at food events? Is it that you can help educate others? Is it when they let you decide where or what to eat, or that they listen to you? What is truly most important to get support from others in your own life? All right, the big 3, supporting at food events, which is huge, letting you decide, and listening to you. It's like blowing it out of the water, which is huge. And I think also with listening to you comes with you being able to advocate properly is number 1, and also being able to portray the right information and not be explaining incorrect information that isn't clear, information that isn't supported by medical or science, because it can be hard to kind of jive with that for a lot of people. So kind of helping you find the middle ground is huge for listening with you. So awesome. You guys all pass. Good job. All right. So with everybody that is live here on the webinar, we did talk about the Living and Loving Your Gluten-Free Life course. This is going live for y'all now. So everybody else can wait till Monday. But for you guys, it is launching. It is going to show you, empower you, teach you, help you with everything that you would need to be successful in your gluten-free life. It's going to expand on the things that I talked about and more, like I said, in those 7 chapters. This is going to be something that you'll have access to forever. You'll have a Facebook group where it'll be a smaller group of people than my current Facebook group or my Instagram, which the DMs are a little wackety. So this is going to be a great resource for you. It will only be open for 2 weeks so that I can keep that Facebook group small. It starts at $279, but since you guys are live on the webinar, there is a discount code. It's pre-sale 20, which will send out an email, but pre-sale, PRESALE, number 2, number 0, for $20 off. And for those that use that discount code and buy before Monday, before it goes live for everybody, I'm going to do a raffle, and one person is going to get a free call with me. So there's 60 people on this call right now. So one of you guys will be getting a free call with me, whoever does that pre-sale option. And then it'll go live to everybody for 2 weeks, back at that regular price. People that sign up the first week, I'll also do another raffle. So if you do pre-sale, you'll get in the raffle twice to get an hour-long call with me, which is pretty fun. So I'm excited for you guys. I hope that this course was helpful for you, or this lesson was helpful. And I think that the course will also be a great resource for you. So that is that. And if you need to reach me any other way, this is my contact. Email is usually the best, to be honest. My Instagram, you can also slide into a DM. You can check out my Facebook or my my website, and then my Facebook group as well. So those are all great ways to get in touch with me. And if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. And I'm here to help you guys. I'm excited for y'all to get the course. Remember, pre-sale 20 for until Monday. And then you guys will also get a packet from this webinar sent to you. That's it, guys. How do I end my screen? Stop share. All right, my hair went up. It was game time. But that's all I got. Oh, one question. Kim says, is the course an extension of the previous one? So the previous course, if you are in my Facebook group, a few months ago, I did launch it to a small group of people. It has been extended. So we've added more content to it. And if you already are in the course, you have lifetime access. So you buy the course this time and we add more things, you still have lifetime access. So that's exciting. Everybody will have access to the Facebook group. Yeah. So thank you guys all. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Vicky. Vicky, it will be sent out a recording for you as well as a packet. So if you guys missed any of the mistakes, check your emails. Check your spam folder. If you don't get it, shoot me an email, Erin@theceliacspace. And that's all I got, you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Happy Thursday.